Our legal panel joins me now here in studio. Jonna Silbor, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor, and Bob Bianchi, criminal defense attorney, former head New Jersey County prosecutor and trial attorney. All right, Jonna, let me start with you because this was a very difficult, if not impossible, case for the prosecution. They had no evidence.
Right.
So this comes down to credibility. It's he said, she said.
Yep.
And they need to prove beyond reasonable doubt that this, in fact, did happen, that she was sexually assaulted.
Right.
Who dropped the ball here?
Well, there was never a ball to drop, let's put it that way, because the only evidence here is the word of the accuser. Now, let's all imagine we're in that jury box, right? Mm-hmm. We are tasked with the responsibility of taking the word of a woman from what she remembers from 13 years ago and potentially putting a 79-year-old man in prison for the rest of his life based on her word alone. It was an impossible task, which leads me to my next point. Why is there going to be a retrial? I think the prosecution should rethink that decision.
First of all, the prosecution needs to know where these jurors stand, okay? So we didn't have a unanimous agreement here that Bill Cosby indeed is guilty of these acts. So then how do they go into a second trial without knowing exactly where the jurors stood? Why aren't we getting their names? Why aren't they digging that and getting inside their heads in order to actually have a successful second trial? If that's what they're intending to do, I would assume so.
Well, they're not allowed by their ethics rules to start approaching jurors, but certainly jurors can speak and they can listen. What concerns me, and I agree with this, is the fact that he campaigned on getting a singular man, Bill Cosby. This is why I hate elected prosecutors. He goes to a huge trial like this. It was clear the jury was not buying the case. They were asking read back on virtually all the testimony.
Right.
They want the law. And then the killer, can he give us a definition of beyond a reasonable doubt? And what concerns me here, Julia, to be honest with you, straightforward, is the admission of the testimony of Miss Johnson, which is what we call bad act evidence. That testimony, the appellate courts do not like. They don't like trying two cases within one case. And if I were the defense, don't be surprised if they don't sit there and say that that was so prejudicial that Cosby can't get a fair trial. And you hear lawyers now on TV saying the judge should admit more. The rules of the game are as follows. It's like a football game. Here's the goal line. You got to bring the ball as a prosecutor over the goal line. If you can't do that, you don't bring the goal line to the ball, you lose the case.
You know, you're talking about admitting things, and there is one thing that Bill Cosby denies and has never admitted, that none of these acts happened. He never drugged any one of his 60-plus accusers, and there are several other civil trials, civil cases that will come out of this. But here's what they did admit, and maybe this was a smart tactic to sort of win the trust of the jurors, if you will, is that they actually admitted that he had an affair, that this affair, the sexual affair with Andrea Constand did happen. How much did that help the defense, knowing that his wife Camille remains by his side, has come forward and denounced all these accusers despite the fact that her husband cheated on her?
I don't think it's a far stretch for a jury to believe that a celebrity is unfaithful to his wife over the course of his marriage. I think they're actually okay with that. What's more interesting to me is the fact that Bill Cosby's defense was one witness, 6 minutes, because the defense knew that if the 12 people did not believe her hook, line, and sinker, they were not getting a conviction, and they were right.
I just want to read some of the testimony from Andrea Constand, because this is pretty powerful stuff. I wasn't able to fight in any way. I wanted it to stop. In my head, I was trying to get my hands to move or my legs to move, but I was frozen. Should she testify again? Real quick, we got to go.
Well, she has to testify, but it was obvious that many people are saying, why did you go back and have private encounters with him again? This just doesn't sound credible.
Bob Bianchi, thank you. Jonna Silbor, thank you both.
Thank you.